Hello, namaste. Welcome to my office, or at least one of my offices. And today we are going to work on, I'm going to give a free video to heal PTSD and severe trauma. So if you're watching this, all you have to do is just listen, tune into my voice. There will be a guided type of very slow breath work at the beginning, and then a more yoga nidra-esque type of lead-in. But ultimately, you don't really have to understand exactly what's happening. You don't have to make conscious sense of what I'm saying. It's basically what I'm saying is communicating directly with your subconscious mind to help your subconscious retrain itself and let go of traumas that they no longer need. So so these different traumas that we're going to heal, we're going to focus on what I call the highest priority traumas. So if someone has something like PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, it will focus on healing those traumas. Now, some of you might be skeptical that you can do this just through an online video that I'm recording. It's okay if you don't believe that this is possible. I'm not asking you to believe me for it to work. I'm asking that you stay with an open mind or scientific mind, saying, well, I'm not sure if it's possible or not, so let's just see if it is, right? If you have that much openness, that's good enough. Even if somehow you believe it won't work, if you actually sit with the intention of receiving the healing with the full faith that it won't work, it still might work in spite of yourself. But yeah, obviously our faith, our beliefs do have an impact, because our beliefs are a subtle mechanism to allow, it's one aspect in a series of different things needed to enact different healing, but it's a very important mechanism in the world of healing. So that being said, you can still heal even with an open-minded skepticism. So you don't need to believe anything necessarily, just be open. Just a few cautions before we start this video. So number one, if you are driving, or if you have a child with you, a baby, or you're in a situation where it's very important for you to be very alert, please do not keep watching this right now. You can come back at another time. Ideally, you should be doing this in a place where you can lie down and relax. Also, at the end, when we finish this, it's not a bad idea to, wherever you do this healing, to go over with like some sage or through prayer or something like this, just to clean the energetic space, since we're going to be releasing some very heavy stuff potentially in this video. And the other thing is if you at any point feel like at the end of it, you should feel pretty relaxed. So if you're not, then you can watch the second part of the video from the place where I start saying any activated negative cellular memories or generational memories, let's clear out any activated instead of the highest priority. So when you get to a place of working on these deep traumas, then at some point we're going to transition from clearing out the ones that are causing the most stress in your life, the most suffering, to clearing out anything that's actually causing you stress in that moment. And so hopefully you'll feel really relaxed and great by the end of it. If not, just click the rewind button. You can listen to this as many times as you want. For healing something like PTSD, the amount of time can vary. I've never made a non-live video like this before, so I can't say from results with the video, but I can say from results with hundreds of live healings, both in group and in private, maybe over 1,000, that they can happen very quickly. You can heal traumas that have been haunting you for many years in a single session. Sometimes it takes a bit longer. It just depends on what we're healing exactly. It depends on what it is we're trying to work on, the severity of it, how long ago it happened, how many times it happened, how ready we are to change. There's many different factors, but just doing it with an open mind. And like I said, if you like this video and you feel good from it, you can always rewatch. So yeah, I think that's about it. And also I think I mentioned, if you have like small kids or something like this, please do not like watch with like a baby on your lap, because you will be clearing out certain energies, and you don't want to be have anyone in your own space right now while you're receiving this. You just want to be in your own space. Cool. So without further ado, we're gonna start this. So I just would like everyone who's following this video just to lie down. Just let yourself lie down in Shavasana. Shavasana, for those who don't know, is corpse pose, where your arms are separated so your shoulders are relaxed, your legs are separated so your hips are relaxed, you're lying on your back, your spine's in a straight line, and you are floppy and relaxed. So now I'd like everyone, we're going to start off with a really brief breathwork combined with infinite love healing meditation to clear off the 4 bodies. So the first of these bodies is the mental body. So the second of these 4 bodies is the emotional body. The third is the physical body, and the last is the soul or spirit level body. So what I would like you guys to do is take a really deep breath, and you can breathe into the lower stomach at first, but then your chest should expand like a bullfrog or like a balloon, expanding out through the rib cage, just slowly expanding the ribs. Keep inhaling, keep breathing in, keep sipping in air. And when you can't inhale even a drop more of air, and slowly exhale through the mouth. And as you exhale through the mouth, just completely let go through the mouth. Slowly letting air fall out. You don't have to push air out, just let it sort of fall out. And of course you're doing this lying down, and just let yourself completely let go on the exhale and deeply relax. So it's a very slow type of breathing, very slow. I call this a bullfrog breath, where you're expanding the chest in all directions to all sides, like a balloon would inflate to all sides at the same time, or like a bullfrog would expand their chest. You breathe in the stomach first, but then the chest is what's expanding for most of the breath, expanding, expanding, expanding. Then when you're totally full, when you can't sip even a little more air, and you exhale through the mouth, and you slowly let go. Do one more practice breath just like this. Beautiful. So this is the kind of breath I'm going to have you do for this opening part of this meditation and healing. So I just want you to take these deep bullfrog or balloon-like breaths. I want you to inhale and expand your chest like in all directions, like a balloon or like a bullfrog. And I want you to imagine for these first 4 breaths that a white or a golden light is entering your mental body. A white or golden light is entering the mind. If you want to add in one more visualization, imagine an infinity symbol for tuning to the most uplifting, harmonious, of infinite possibilities to your mind. The exhale, let go of any mental commotion, any mental stress, any mental worry. Completely let it flow, let it go. Light shine through all time and space, layers and dimensions. Let's clear all judgments, fears, Valkyrie and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Very nice. And we're going to do 3 more breaths like this into the mental body. Again, don't worry if you don't understand what I'm saying. I'm talking directly with your subconscious to allow your subconscious to go along with your intentions. If your intentions for this healing are to let go of traumas, it's working with those intentions to let go of traumas, let go of the biggest traumas that are most stress-causing and causing most suffering in your nervous system and energetic field. So keep inhaling, keep expanding through the chest. On the exhaling of any mental commotion, mental stress, light shine through all time and space, layers and dimensions. Let's clear out judgments, fears, without growing fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all all time and space, layers and dimensions. Let's clear all judgment, spheres, without current fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions. Let's clear all judgment, spheres, without current fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. And after the mental body, we're going to go to the emotional body. So we're going to let go of any emotions coming up for us, and any fear, worry, anger, resentment, restlessness, whatever it may be. So take a really deep breath in. Inhale, expand the chest in all directions to all sides like a balloon or like a bullfrog. Keep inhaling. Expanding on the exhale, letting go of anything on an emotional level, tuning to the peace, to the joy, the love within us through all time and space, layers and dimensions. Let's clear all judgment, fears, without current fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Totally full again, exhaling through all time and space, layers and dimensions. Let's clear out judgment, spheres, without current fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Taking 2 more deep breaths into the emotional body again. The inhale, tuning to joy within us, peace, to love. And the exhale, letting go any emotions that do not serve through all time and space, layers and dimensions. Let's clear all judgment, spheres, without current fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Taking 1 more super deep breath, inhaling, expanding in all directions to all sides. Time and space, layers and dimensions. Let's clear all judgment, spheres, without current fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Now, after the 4 breaths into the emotional body, we're going to go to the physical body. So on the inhale, you can imagine a wire going light, filling every cell up with energy, every cell getting energy, prana, life force from the breath. Every cell, you can imagine every cell dancing for joy with the good energy you're giving it. On the exhale, you're going to let go of any physiological stress, toxins. A lot of detox happens through the exhalation, believe it or not. Any physiological stress in the nervous system, let it all go and completely relax. So take a deep breath. Inhale, fill your whole physical body, fill every cell up with energy, getting energy, prana from the breath in. And when you can't inhale even a little more, exhale, let go of any physiological stress, harmonize your nervous system and all bodily systems through all time and space, layers and dimensions. Let's clear all judgment, spheres, without current fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions. Let's clear all judgment, spheres, without current fears, and go above to infinite love. All time and space, layers and dimensions. Let's clear all judgment, spheres, without current fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. One more deep breath in here. Fill every cell of your physical body up. Keep inhaling, keep expanding. When you're totally full, exhaling through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgment, spheres, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Then we're going to go to this, what we can call the soul level body, your whole energy field. So you're going to imagine a white or golden light inhaling. As you inhale, you're going to expand your energy field out in a white or a golden light. Keep inhaling, keep expanding. On the exhale, whether you know or don't know with your conscious mind what this is, let go of anything on a soul level that does not serve you. Light shine through all time and space, layers and dimensions. Let's clear all judgment, spheres, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Exhale through all time and space, layers and dimensions. Let's clear out judgment, spheres, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions. Let's clear all judgment, spheres, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love. Taking one more super deep breath here into the soul level body. Expanding your energy. And the exhaling of anything on soul level known or unknown to your conscious mind through all time and space, layers and dimensions. Let's clear all judgment, spheres, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. We're going to now move from this meditative space. Just let your whole being relax. Let your whole being relax from the top of your head all the way down to the bottom of your feet. From your bottom of your feet all the way up to the top of the head. Relax every fiber of your being. And now, I'd like you to go on a little journey. So do your best to follow this short journey. If you can't, it's okay. Just relax and just listen and do the best you can. Don't worry if you don't feel like you're following well enough or doing well enough. The healing can still happen. It still will happen. You just keep tuning into my voice and just kind of let go. I'd like you to imagine that while you're still connected to your physical body, I'd like to imagine with your consciousness going on a journey to some beautiful space out in nature. It can be anywhere you want in the world. A place you've been, a place you haven't, but a place you're all by yourself where you feel very much at peace. And as you're out in this beautiful place in nature, you suddenly see in the not far distance a white and golden light start to rise up out of the earth. And this is not ordinary light, but a transmutation light fire that has a very otherworldly look to it. It's very mystical, like something out of Harry Potter or something. It's a very mystical quality to it. And as it's starting to rise up, it's starting to rise up incredibly quickly in a dazzling, amazing light display, spectacular twisting and turning of the light, rising up all the way from the earth, all the way up beyond the line of sight, up into the sky, into the heavens above. And as this is forming, it's starting to form now into the shape of a giant pyramid of light. And you feel very called to move towards this. So you start to move towards it wherever you are, in wherever place in nature, and you start to move towards this giant pyramid of light. And as you do, you suddenly, to your side, hear a thud. And as you hear this thud, you look to see what it was that made the sound, and you see a big wooden cabinet. And the wooden cabinet has your name in big golden letters engraved at the top of the cabinet. So you feel called to go into this pyramid of light, but first you want to see what's in the cabinet. And so you open up the cabinet, and as you open up this cabinet, inside you see a bunch of old, very old looking folders. None of it looks very new. It all looks like it's been there for a really long time. But there's one folder that's bigger than all the rest. It's taking up a lot of space, and it's right in the middle of this cabinet. Without it, there'd be a lot more empty space in this cabinet for new possibilities in your life. And you look and see what's the cabinet, or what this is in this folder within this cabinet, and it has a label on it, and it's called the highest priority traumas. And it has a date. The date is the 12th of May 2020, or whenever you're listening to this, the date is today. So for some of you, the 12th of May, for some maybe August 15th, whenever you're listening to this video, that's the date on the folder. And you realize that it's an expiration date. That what is in this folder is set to expire, and it's set to expire today. And you realize that these folders represent everything within your subconscious that's holding you back from living your life with most joy, most peace, most love, most purpose, most inspired, enthusiastic, dedicated to your inspired intentions, your inspired passions to live your best life. And so you take this folder, which has the date of today on it, this big folder with traumas, and you take this folder into your hand. It feels so heavy. You never realized how heavy this feels, to hold this particular folder within you, to hold all these heavy traumas. It feels really heavy. Your whole being feels heavy holding this. And you never realized quite how burdensome it was to carry on with this, to hold on to this. And you feel ready, very ready to let it go. So you take this folder, and you're really close to this pyramid of light. So all you need to do now is take that folder into the light pyramid. And as we do this, as soon as you reach the entrance to the light pyramid, you're starting to feel lighter and lighter. Your whole body, your whole being is starting to feel lighter and lighter and lighter. You're already feeling the burden, that heaviness of the folder starting to evaporate, starting to burn up in this transmutation light fire. And now within this pyramid of light, which feels so good to be in, under the very apex of the pyramid, under the very tallest part, the part where it's reaching all the way up to the heavens, there's a column of light descending, column within the pyramid, a vortex within a vortex. And I'd like you just to go right under the very apex, right under this column within the center of the pyramid, and just lie down. Just feel yourself lying down in the center of this pyramid. And now as you lie down, you can just let yourself relax. There's nothing to do now. If at some point you feel like you have a lot of energy moving and you need to move things more quickly, you can use the breath that I taught you at the beginning of this video. Otherwise, just try to tune into my voice. Just listen to my voice. Like I said, you might not understand exactly what's happening. This is happening thousands of times more quickly on the subconscious level than we can comprehend with our conscious mind. So trying to consciously follow things isn't necessarily even useful for this. It's better to just trust, to let yourself receive. and to set your intention to let go of traumas. Let go. Your intention is the one thing here you can really control. So letting go of the traumas, the cellular memories that are most stressing to you. So cellular memories in our word for trauma. So we ask the divine, whatever name you connect with that, and also ask the help of everyone's mind who is receiving and open to receive this healing for your own good, for your own peace, to help let go, clear, transmute all the highest priority negative cellular memories or generational memories causing the most stress, the most suffering in your life, through all levels, all bodies, down to the roots, through all time and space, layers and dimensions. Let's clear all judgments, fears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. All time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, Velcro, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Letting go of all the highest priority negative memories with the help of your mind and the divine in the sixth dimension. For that, through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, Velcro, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Seventh dimension. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, Velcro, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, Velcro, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. We can go of all the highest priority negative star memories, generational memories, just feeling dissolve into this white or golden light within this pyramid of light in which you lie down through all time and space, layers and dimensions. Let's clear all judgments, fears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions. Let's clear all judgments, fears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Moving to the 8th dimension. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions. Let's clear all judgments, fears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions. Let's clear all judgments, fears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions. Let's clear all judgments, fears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions. Let's clear all judgments, fears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions. Let's clear all judgments, fears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers, which cut on to and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions. Let's clear all judgments, fears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions. Let's clear all judgments, fears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. 2 more in the 8th dimension. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions. Let's clear all judgments, fears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers, dimensions, cut on to and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. And 9th dimension. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions. Let's clear all judgments, fears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers, dimensions, cut on to and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions. Let's clear all on to and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions. Let's clear all judgments, fears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions. Let's clear all judgments, fears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions. Let's clear all judgments, fears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions. Let's clear all judgments, fears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions. Let's clear all judgments, fears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. 10th dimension. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions. Let's clear all judgments, fears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions. Let's clear all judgments, fears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions. Let's clear all judgments, fears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions. Let's clear all judgments, fears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. All time and space, layers and dimensions. Let's clear all judgments, fears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions. Let's clear all fears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions. Let's clear all judgments, fears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions. Let's clear all judgments, fears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love. 11th dimension. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions. Let's clear all judgments, fears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions. Let's clear all judgments, fears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers much cut on to your reckon fears, and go above to infinite love. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, going to the 12th dimension. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. 13th dimension and above for love. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all uncheers, valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. 6th dimension and above, through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers, menchkot on valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. 1st dimension, letting go of all the highest priority negative cellular memories, generation memories, those causing the most stress or suffering, letting them all go with the help of your mind, your subconscious, with the help of the divine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers, which go on to valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love. 2nd dimension. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all on to valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light shine. through all time and space, layers, dimension, called onto your record fears, and go above to infinite love, light, shine. Through all time and space, layers, and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, tears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love. Through all time and space, layers, and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, tears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light, shine. Through all time and space, layers, and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, tears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light, shine. Through all time and space, layers, and dimensions, cut onto your record fears, and go above to infinite love, light, shine. Fourth dimension. Through all time and space, layers, and dimensions, let's clear all onto your record fears, and go above to infinite love. Through all time and space, layers, and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, tears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love. Through all time and space, layers, dimensions, cut onto your record fears, and go above to infinite love, light, shine. Through all time and space, layers, dimensions, cut onto your record fears, and go above to infinite love, light, shine. All time and space, layers, and dimensions, let's clear all onto your record fears, and go above to infinite love. Through all time and space, layers, and cut onto your record fears, and go above to infinite love, light, shine. Through all time and space, layers, and cut onto your record fears, and go above to infinite love, light, shine. All time and space, layers, dimensions, cut onto your record fears, and go above to infinite love, light, shine. Fifth dimension. Through all time and space, layers, and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, tears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light, shine. Through all time and space, layers, and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, tears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love. Through all time and space, layers, and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, tears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light, shine. Through all time and space, layers, and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, tears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light, shine. Through all time and space, layers, and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, tears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love. Through all time and space, layers, and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, tears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light, shine. Through all time and space, layers, and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, tears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light, shine. Through all time and space, layers, and dimensions, called onto your record, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light, shine. Go of all the highest priority negative ceremony judgments in the first of dimensions for all time and space, layers meant to cut onto your record and fears, and go above to infinite love. For all time and space, layers meant to cut onto your record and fears, and go above to infinite love, light, shine. Through all time and space, layers meant to cut onto your record and fears, and go above to infinite love. For all time and space, layers meant to cut onto your record and fears, and go above to infinite love, light, shine. Through all time and space, layers, and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light, shine. Through all time and space, layers, and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light, shine. Through all time and space, layers, meant to cut onto your record and fears, and go above to infinite love, light, shine. Through all time and space, layers, meant to cut onto your record and fears, and go above to infinite love. Through all time and space, layers, meant to cut onto your record and fears, and go above to infinite love, light, shine. Then go of all the highest priority negative star memory generation memories through all time and space, layers meant to cut onto your record and fears, and go above to infinite love. For all time and space, layers meant to cut onto your record and fears, and go above to infinite love. For all time and space, layers meant to cut onto your record and fears, and go above to infinite love. Through all time and space, layers mentioned, let's clear all judgments, fears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light, shine. Through all time and space, layers, and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love, light, shine. Now transitioning to letting go of all activated, any activated negative cellular memory generation memories, not the highest priority anymore, just letting go of anything actively causing stress through all dimensions, all bodies, through all time and space, layers, and dimensions. Let's clear all judgments, fears, Valkyrie, and fears, and go above to infinite love. Through all time and space, layers, dimensions, let's clear out onto your record and fears, and go above to infinite love, light, shine. Through all time and space, layers, dimensions, clear out onto your record and fears, and go above to infinite love, light, shine. Through all time and space, layers, meant to cut onto your record and fears, and go above to infinite love, light, shine. Through all time and space, layers, meant to cut onto your record and fears, and go above to infinite love, light, shine. Through all time and space, layers, meant to cut onto your record and fears, and go above to infinite love. Through all time and space, layers, and dimensions, let's clear out onto your record and fears, and go above to infinite love. go of all the any activated negative center memory generation memories in the 6th dimension through all time and space layers meant to code onto your reckon fears and go above to infinite love. Through all time and space layers meant to code onto your reckon fears and go above to infinite love. Through all time and space layers meant to code onto your reckon fears and go above to 7th dimension through all time and space layers meant to code onto your reckon fears and go above to infinite love. Through all time and space layers meant to code onto your reckon fears and go above to infinite love. Light shine through all time and space layers meant to code onto your reckon fears and go above to infinite love. 8th dimension through all time and space layers and dimensions, let's create all judgments, fears, reckon fears and go above to infinite love. Light shine through all time and space layers and meant to code onto your reckon fears and go above to infinite love. Light shine through all time and space layers meant to code onto your reckon fears and go above to infinite love. 9th dimension through all time and space layers and dimensions, let's create all judgments, fears without current fears and go above to infinite love. Through all time and space layers meant to code onto your reckon fears and go above to infinite love. Through all time and space layers meant to code onto your reckon fears and go above to infinite love. 10th dimension through all time and space layers and dimensions, let's create onto your reckon fears and go above to infinite love. Light shine through all time and space layers and dimensions, let's create all judgments, fears without current fears and go above to infinite love. Light shine through all time and space layers and dimensions, let's create all judgments, fears without current fears and go above to infinite love. 11th dimension through all time and space layers and dimensions, let's create all judgments, fears without current fears and go above to infinite love. Light shine through all time and space layers and dimensions, let's create all judgments, fears without current fears and go above to infinite love. Light shine through all time and space layers and dimensions, let's create onto your reckon fears and go above to infinite love. Light shine 12th dimension through all time and space layers and dimensions, onto your reckon fears and go above to infinite love. For all time and space layers and dimensions, let's create all judgments, fears without current fears and go above to infinite love. Through all time and space layers and dimensions, let's create onto your reckon fears and go above to infinite love. Light shine. Through 13th dimension above, through all time and space layers and dimensions, let's create onto your reckon fears and go above to infinite love. Through all time and space layers, meant to code onto your reckon fears and go above to infinite love. Through all time and space layers, meant to code onto your reckon fears and go above to infinite love. Light shine. Through all time and space layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgment spheres without current fears and go above to infinite love. Through all time and space layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgment spheres without current fears and go above to infinite love. Light shine through all time and space layers and dimensions, let's clear all onto your current fears and go above to infinite love. Light shine. All time and space, layers, and dimensions, let's clear all judgments here without current fears and go above to infinite love. Going to the first dimension. Link of all activated negative star memory generation memories, just the activated ones now. Through all time and space, layers, and dimensions, let's clear all judgments here without current fears and go above to infinite love. Through all time and space, layers, and dimensions, let's clear all judgments here without current fears and go above to infinite love. Light shine through all time and space, layers, and dimensions, let's clear all judgments without current fears and go above to infinite love. Light shine. Second dimension, through all time and space, layers, and dimensions, let's clear all judgment spheres without current fears and go above to infinite love. Through all time and space, layers, and code onto your reckoned fears and go above to infinite love. Through all time and space, layers, and dimensions, let's clear onto your reckoned fears and go above to infinite love. Second dimension again, through all time and space, layers, and code onto your reckoned fears and go above to infinite love. Through all time and space, layers, and code onto your reckoned fears and go above to infinite love. Light shine. Third dimension, through all time and space, layers, and dimensions, let's clear all judgment spheres without current fears and go above to infinite love. Through all time and space, layers, and dimensions, let's clear all judgment spheres without current fears and go above to infinite love. Through all time and space, layers, meant to code onto your reckoned fears and go above to infinite love. Light shine. Fourth dimension, through all time and space, layers, and dimensions, let's clear all judgment spheres without current fears and go above to infinite love. For all time and space, layers, meant to code onto your reckoned fears and go above to infinite love. For all time and space, layers, meant to code onto your reckoned fears and go above to infinite love. Fifth dimension, through all time and space, layers, and dimensions, let's clear all judgment spheres without current fears and go above to infinite love. Through all time and space, layers, meant to code onto your reckoned fears and go above to infinite love. Light shine. Through all time and space layers, mention God onto your work and fears and give love to infinite love, light, shine. First through fifth dimensions. Through all time and space layers, mention God onto your work and fears and give love to infinite love. All time and space layers, mention God onto your work and fears and give love to infinite love. Through all time and space layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, valkyrie, and fears and go love to infinite love, light, shine. Take a really deep breath in. Inhale, expand your chest like a bullfrog, like a balloon. Letting go of any remaining negative memory, generational memories on the exhale that are activated in your nervous system. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, valkyrie, and fears and go love to infinite love. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, valkyrie, and fears and go love to infinite love, light, shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, valkyrie, and fears and go love to infinite love, light, shine. Through all time and space, layers and dimensions, let's clear all judgments, fears, velcro and fears, and go above to infinite love. And go above to infinite love. And go above to infinite love. Light shine, light shine, light shine. Imagine yourself slowly coming back from the temple of light, coming back to your physical body. Maybe start to feel your feet, start to feel your legs, start to feel your hips, your groin area, feel your stomach area, feel the chest, feel your back, feel the shoulders, your arms, your hands, feel all 5 fingers. Feel your neck, feel your mouth, your chin, your jaw, your cheeks, your eyes, your nose, your forehead. Feel your whole head as a single unit. Feel your whole body as a single unit. On the count of 3, you can squeeze the left hand and the right foot. 1, 2, 3, squeeze, 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 and release and relax. And then on the count of 3, squeeze the right hand and the left foot. 1, 2, 3, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze as hard as you can. Keep squeezing a little bit longer and totally relax. Now you can stretch out, stretch all the way out. Really nice stretch here. And when you're ready, you can slowly roll onto your side. Take your time. When you feel ready, slowly maybe use the hands, walk yourself up to a seated position. If you want to do a basic forward bend stretch, touch your toes. That's a good way to kind of ground back. You want to splash some water on your face or on your body, or take a shower, even better. That helps you to ground back. I'd recommend water in particular, as you can see. So if you want to, at the end of the healing, just take your hands right to here and just put your hands, just kind of saving your work. Hold that for maybe 20 seconds or so. Great. So if you made it through that whole video, first of all, congratulations for taking the time for yourself to do that. I'm sure many people saw this video and didn't make it to the end, so the fact that you're willing to take the time to actually heal is amazing, and I thank you for your contribution in doing that. If you liked this healing, then I told you, like at the beginning, you can listen to as many times as you want, unlimited value, and infinite amount of times to listen. Not infinite, but as many times as you want. And also, if you really liked, if this resonated with you, then also what I would highly recommend is taking the level 1 Infinite Love Healing course. That gives you, this is just kind of scratching the surface, and that gives you a lot of tools, a lot of the tools that I've learned that have helped me so much in the energy healing side of things and the breathwork side of things to really, and the framework side of things of how we view the challenges within our lives, the beliefs, if you will, around our lives. So it's a lot of the best tools I've learned, and yeah, this stuff works. So if you like this, then definitely I would strongly consider doing level 1. You can also do private sessions with me as well if you want. We can focus on specific issues more related directly to whatever's going on with you right now in your life. And then, of course, like I said, we can rewatch this. If you, at the end of this video, if you don't feel relaxed, then I would just recommend going and rewinding back in the video to about maybe 10 minutes before this, I would guess, 10 to 12 minutes. I didn't see the exact time, when I started to activate negative cellular memories, because that's going to help you to completely to relax. You just might need a little more time with that. Anything else? No, I think that's about it. I hope you guys have a beautiful day. If you like this video, please feel free to share it. I'm happy to share this video with anyone who needs the healing. And if you have any questions or comments, please do not don't hesitate to ask. And I am gonna go take a little swim, and I hope you guys have a beautiful, blessed day whenever or wherever you're watching this. Namaste.